Hi, I'm Shara Kaufman. Welcome to the 3-Pencil Challenge. This is one of my favorite ways to play with color. Not only does it allow you to play with your own personal creativity, but it kind of limits what you're playing with on your paper, and because of that, you can actually learn how to mix and match colors in a brand new way. So let's begin. Here I've got some examples of 3 pencils that I've combined. There are 2 different ways to work with a 3-pencil challenge. One of them is to pick colors that you like and kind of put them together and see what happens when you put them on the page. Another way is to pick 2 of the same color family. In this case, there's 2 green and something else that might go well with those. In this case, I used blue because it's in the cool color family, and I know that cool colors often go really well together. But this is the one that I really want to show you an example with that I think we can really have a lot of fun with. So here I've got an example of just some pencils and some circles, and there's a lot that can happen with moving your colors onto this page, and one of them is color combinations. So I want to show you that when we begin to put color on the page, you know, we know what pink looks like, and we know what yellow, and we know what brown look like, but sometimes we don't realize what they look like when you begin to move them together, and this happens in the case of all colors. So just to show you, we'll begin to put a little bit down here, and then I'm going to do the other side of this circle with yellow, so we know what yellow looks like. We'll put this down, and I'm doing small little circles so that I can color in all of the white spaces and get really into the tooth of my paper. And then you'll notice some of the magic begin to take place as we begin to move over the pink. Color combining is a really fun way of understanding how color moves together and how you can make more colors than what your eye is seeing initially. So when I begin to really combine my pink and my yellow here, you'll notice that a nice orange will begin to show. And yet there is no orange in my hand. This can come in handy not only with creating shadows and color combinations, but if I really wanted to say make this area orange in this one, I can actually create that effect just by combining the 2 pencils that I have. And I may not know what that looks like until I begin to actually play with color in a 3-pencil challenge. I'm speeding up the video here just so that you can see the technique, because as you know, coloring takes time. Let's begin to see what some of these combinations look like. Now in this combination here, I'm going to begin to combine my pink and my brown together. Now, I'm not really sure what the effect is combining these 2, so I'm always going to work with really light layers. Now I'm really intrigued by this because as I move away and I give myself some space from this, I'm noticing that this almost looks more purpley than this bright pink next to each other here. I'm going to add a little pink on top and see what happens to this space. I'm also liking that when I combine these 2 that I can see where I can use this brown to create really interesting shading and shadows between these 2. Really interesting. Okay, I want to show you something that I find always kind of interesting in creating almost like a marbleized effect. When you move colors together, but you give them kind of some wiggle room. And then you let them kind of blend. You can use some of these lighter colors sometimes to kind of move and kind of, it's like soften the edges. Now I'm using some pretty deep pressure so that I can move these colors together. Now I'm not going to get that bright pink back because I've got so much yellow down, but I'm really interested in just seeing if I can move these colors in a different way. So let's see here when we begin to fill in some of these spaces. What do we get? What is the overall effect? What I like about a 3-color challenge is that I don't have to worry about changing into anything complicated. I can really keep it simple for myself, but just by using the 3 colors and seeing what happens. What happens when I move them together? Now there's something else I want to show you with a 3-pencil challenge that sometimes people forget, that they can use some of their darker colors to actually create an effect that allows these other colors to pop out. And sometimes that means just coloring around existing shapes. And coloring in those existing shapes allows these colors to pop out, especially if I've got one of the darker colors to work with. What's nice about this particular design with just these little circles here is that I'm not really noticing this dark brown in the background. I'm really noticing these circles, and that's part of the magic, is that if I have one of these dark pencils in my 3-color challenge, I can let it be part of the mystery or the magic of what's happening and have some of these darker colors move to the background and yet still utilize them in my color combinations or creating shadows. And if you're doing something just for fun, you can always just see, what does it look like to do different shapes with your patterns? What happens if you begin to just kind of move them, where you combine them in color patterns that give you stripes, that give you polka dots, that give you something different than just coloring something in directly. So there's some examples for these particular 3. Now remember these other 3 that I was showing you here? I want to show you an example of what it looks like when you do it on an entire coloring page just using 3 colors, because yes, you can do it that way. It just takes a little bit of time and patience and your willingness to just play and see, what do these colors do when combined with each other? If you lighten them, if you darken them. In this case, I used a little bit of gel pen around the edges just to darken those edges, blue and a little bit of green, I think, in maybe some of the center spots here. But really, the majority of this entire image is done with just these 3 pencils, 2 greens, 1 blue. Now it's your turn. Find your style. Have fun.